Alright, welcome back. We're going to spend a little time on the inside of this environmental growth chamber box and tell you about some of the components that you'll find inside. First, we'd like to point out is the temperature and humidity control. This white box has a fan that pulls air through it. That air from the chamber is sampled and used to feed back to the controller temperature and humidity of the space. It's important that we don't block the fan by setting it down on something where the fan can't move any air through it. And that way it would cause it to not read correctly. You do have the ability to lay it on its side like it is, or there is a chain that's attached to this so that it can be held or hung in different areas of the chamber to give you the optimal place for sensing temperature and humidity. Inside the box, there's also a couple other things. Most boxes have the ability to have humidification. The humidifiers are small black boxes that plug into outlets and connect to water supply, and then will provide humidity as needed in the experiment. We would encourage you to make sure your programming is correct in this so that you don't over humidify a space, or if you do need it, that you don't humidify at all. If you are going to use this box to achieve low temperatures, somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 degrees or below, or 2 or 3 Celsius and below, you need to make that known as you schedule the box so that the humidification system can be removed from the box and the water source can be removed so that there is no chance of freezing during your experiment. If one of these lines freezes for some reason, if the box runs a little cold at one point, you could end up with a flooded box and a ruined experiment. So please be mindful of that. In the box there are air intakes. In this particular box they're at the bottom sides of each of the sides of the box. Those air intakes are where the air is brought in and then cooled through the cooling system, and then they are basically come through the wall to the top portion of the wall and then blown back into the box. As you place different things in the box, be sure that you don't block off those more than just a little bit. That would ensure that the airflow is correct and the cooling system will work adequately. One other thing we'd like to show you is the air intake. This small port is the back side of the fan that brings air into the box. There is a sliding damper that allows for adjustment. We would encourage you to please leave that at least a third of the way open so that there's always some air moving in and out of the growth chamber. If you have a humidification needed experiment, the humidifiers will overcome any lower humidity air coming into the box without any problem, and this will make sure that you have a small degree of fresh air coming into the box. The last thing we want to point out is one of the more important pieces, and this will be your high and low limit safety settings. In this box, it's at the upper right corner, but it is located in various places. These settings are an absolute setting that will disable the box in the event that you go above or below the setting. These are meant to protect your experiment in the event that lights don't turn off or the cooling fails. We don't want plants to be burned up or things to get too cold if the cooling sticks on. So if we get outside of the set points that are set on these, it will shut the box down entirely and signal an alarm. The place that you would adjust these is a slight little notch at the very top of each of the dials. As you use a small regular screwdriver, you can turn these one way or another to get those set points. But please be sure to make these set point changes prior to beginning your experiment. that should be all that we need to talk about on the inside of the box.